record, and victory clap. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We were
That sounded right on point.
okay. Sure.
Oh, I guess it didn't for you.
Nope. No. I clapped and then I heard you clap right after, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I. Okay.
One more time.
Well, okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's close.
We're as good as we get. All right. Gammon. That's the word, and that's what we do.
Is-
That's Icelandic for fun.
Isn't that just a GPS brand? Garmin.
Maybe. No, that's you got your words. You got them mixed up there, bud.
Garmin. Also, isn't that a
It's
name of a
close
woman
enough.
who's missing in the world?
Is it?
Where in the world is Garmin? San Diego.
What? Yeah, that I'm watching something going over my head right now,
I-
Drew.
Wait, do you not know about Carmen San Diego?
No?
What? Wait,
What is-
hold on. We might drop all topics today to like just talk about this. No, like you've never
Wait.
heard of it, like the game or the TV show or anything?
No, what are you talking about?
Okay, all right, hold on. So there was a game. I forget if it was a game or I think it was a game first. Called
Okay.
Where in the World is Carmen San Diego?
Okay.
And it was basically like a mystery puzzle game kinda. The game dropped you in the Earth, basically, all the continents, and said, "We want you to find Carmen San Diego by following these clues we've given you." And you had to go to all the different continents and talk to different people and arrest like her cronies to figure out where she was. It's a really fun game, and they made like a kids game show about it.
Okay.
It was really interesting. Like it's super popular because the song was catchy. It's like ooh up, oop doo up. Never mind. So
Okay.
it, man, I'm shocked. It was right around when you were a kid. You probably saw reruns or something.
No, I don't know what this is.
You might have to find a
I-
copy
I-
of this game. This game's actually kind of fun. It's actually really challenging though. It makes you like really critically think.
I don't know. I'm not liking it anymore.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thinking is a problem. Do they have like new games of this? I would love if they made a new game of this. Might actually be a
Okay.
thing. Did
All right. Well, I'm learning things about the world again.
looks like there was an iTunes thing, like an iPhone game, but huh. Okay. Yeah, but we should really track down Carmen San Diego. It's a good game. It's definitely a fun game.
We got a full recommendation from the Drew here.
Yeah. I hate all games except for Carmen San Diego. That's a pretty sweet game. It's pretty all right.
Some say it's better than all right. They say it's all right.
I don't know why I typed it into Steam thinking I would get a result for Carmen San Diego.
You know what else we don't get in Steam though?
Hmm.
Epitaph.
Ooh. Now, just to be clear, this is not the Epitaph that's actually on Steam, right?
I actually didn't even look what it was on Steam. I just took your word it was garbage.
Well, no, the game's not garbage. It's just not
Just
the game
not
we're
what-
talking about. The game that I'm looking at on Steam is like a tactical fighting game kind of thing. It looks all right. The aesthetic looks
Okay, yeah,
interesting.
yeah, you're right. That looks interesting, but that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is a browser-based game, which will be in show notes.
Yes, it is completely free. So please, tell you what, before we talk about it, just go try it. Pause where we are.
Yeah,
Just go do it.
literally, it will take you 5 minutes, and then it'll be 15 minutes later.
Yeah, it's very short. Well, depending.
Yeah, how well you do.
Yeah, but it's worth a shot. Just go try it
Definitely recommend.
out. Now, for everyone who
But-
came back, hey, how's it going, guys? That was fun. That was weird, though,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, planets exploding? The hell? Where'd that meteor come from?
Pompeii, God. Who thought that would happen?
But yeah, this little game, it's a fun little. What would you even classify this as, right? Just like a little browser-based thing, right?
I would say it's kind of
A
a choose your own
browser
adventure style tac no, tactics is a bad.
a browser choose your own adventure.
A browser based choose your own adventure basically is what I'd say. Like choose your own adventure is the category by itself. Um
But it's also kind of like a civilization generator.
yeah, it's funny. So, little story, but right before the show, we had been meaning to talk about this game for a while, but I had never looked it up or done any research about it. So right before the
Yep.
show, Ant just sends me like a link and he's like, "Okay, this is Epitaph. Just play it. We'll talk about it on the show." And it it kind of threw me for a loop how interesting it was. It felt a lot like if anyone's ever played the Civilization games, their
Hmm.
tech tree in particular, just playing the tech tree by itself
Pretty much.
and seeing how far your civilization can go.
Yeah, and like do it like in different ways to try and help your civilization try and last. And you could even come across plenty of these things too. And as Drew discovered, for only playing it for like 15 minutes or so, right? Me, I've been playing it for multiple weeks, on and off, but still. He beat the game.
There is an ending apparently,
Yep.
and
And
the relation to civilization is not lost. It's actually a win condition in civilization.
But I thought that was kind of funny how like my RNG just I've never even gotten that far,
Yeah,
like even remotely that far.
yeah.
But you
It makes me wonder if like the game actually does have a strategy to beat it, or it's just a roll of the dice. Because a lot of the time, this is the one that won was my first civilization. For people who haven't played it aren't able to play it yet, basically, it continues to make new civilizations for you at like a slower and slower rate, and
Mhm.
each one either lives or dies, most likely dies. So you kind of manage these multiple civilizations, and the first one I had been given just happened to be the one I won with no planning or strategy in it. I was just picking what I thought was a good trek for civilization to go down, like, you know, picking mathematics before construction, like being able to figure out how to build buildings before building the buildings, or at least
Mhm.
building them efficiently. I'll say that much.
Mhm.
It makes me wonder, like, what the internal logic of the game is, or if it's just like a random number generator of.
Well, it is random, right? That for sure. I took a look at like the wiki and all that kind of stuff, right? And it is random, so like you could just straight up have like the most unlucky events happen to your perfect civilization, which is a little infuriating. But there definitely are ways to do better.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like there are definitely better paths to go down than other paths. Like there to help your RNG.
obviously ignoring food options is a bad idea.
Yeah, that's usually pretty bad. Or like getting too much military before like you get like what is it? Communications. So like people just don't wipe each other out.
Or, alternatively, ignoring military options just to go with a more cultured route, and then just getting murdered
Mm-hmm.
by some neighboring village.
Mm-hmm.
What is what what is your favorite like way to lose in this game? Because you've probably experienced a lot more endings than I have.
Mine probably is sailing across the sea to bring back plague and killing everyone.
So wait, hold on. This is a
'Cause,
story
like,
here.
'cause-
Did you like discover sailing and then you were like, let's explore the world, and then just discovered how terrible an idea that is?
Yeah, basically they discovered sailing, right? And they went around the world and they brought back disease and everyone died.
Quality, perfect way.
Yep, all the fun.
I think my favorite is just a star exploding next to your planet. So completely no way to stop it. There's no like, oh, if I built this, that would be fun. No, just star got too dense and just exploded next to you. So it's like, well, that was a run. That
Mm-hmm.
happened to at least 2 or 3 of my civilizations. More often than you think it would happen.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Bunch of fun though.
Yeah.
I just kind of like the little microcosm this game is, right? Like, and all your defeated civilizations, like, just on the screen itself, just slowly fade into black, which I kind of think is pretty cool
Hmm.
of it. So it's like, it's you can see it just slowly fade into nothingness. I just find it kind of neat.
Yeah, it's a nice little aesthetic choice for it, where it does feel like an epitaph. It feels like a story passed down.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
And it's like it just kind of gets more worn down, and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, exactly. I'm surprised I never heard of this. I mean, it's probably a tiny game. It's probably not like super super popular, but it's one of those things like it's interesting enough that I'm surprised I hadn't heard of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? I just the only reason I came across it actually was I was in a D&D forum, right? And I was just kind of going through, like, they had like a few good guides and, like, like world building stuff, right? And this just happened to be a civilization generator. That's what they were passing it as.
Hmm.
And I was like, you know what? Cool. This is something that could work,
Alright.
kind of deal. And I thought it was just kind of really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. It's bothering me so much because it feels like a game I've played before, but I can't
Okay.
remember what it is. It was a game kind of
Mm-hmm.
like this, where it was just a choose your own adventure kind of style, but it gave you all these different options, kind of like that. It's interesting. It's a really interesting way of making a game, and its design is really well done, and its aesthetic is really well done for such a minimalist game.
It is very minimal, but it also feels like really good. Like it's just something you can kind of put in the background if you wanted to, and just kind of come back to it every while, you know?
Yeah, it's like a quick run kind of game where you can just like bring it up and be like, yeah, let's see how far I can go. I think honestly it'd be ideal for phones. Like if you could put it on a phone,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be perfect.
Uh, this is a perfect phone game.
Yeah, just I'm sitting down somewhere. I've got 5 minutes to kill before I gotta go do a thing. Let's just see if I can
Mm-hmm.
make a civilization work. I'm not sure how the multiple civilization thing would work on a phone, but you know,
Yeah, you could probably just scroll it side to side kind of deal.
yeah, exactly. What
Hmm. What's up?
what would you say is like some of your favorite browser specific games?
Ooh, I actually have a list.
All right. Wow, you came
Okay.
ready. I was just, this is off the top of my head, and you were just like, hold on, I've got many things.
So actually, oddly enough, right? One I have is
Oh,
Agar.io,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? You know the little one where you like the little circle, and you have to get the smaller circles, and there's other people playing as circles, and I always type in as Romania, you know, and just be the strongest Romania ever. I am the nation of strength.
Do you sing the
But let's see
Do you
it.
sing the Russian national anthem with it?
You can be the USSR. That is an option. So I always think that's like little fun. Um, Besides that one, it's probably Slither.io as well,
Oh, is that a
where
similar
pretty
kind of game?
much, yeah, except you're like a snake, and you have to kind of crawl around and like eat like little energy balls, kind of deal, right?
Hmm.
But you can't attack. You can only deny um, movement. Kind of like how Snake works. Like you can't run into your own body. Well, you can't run into your own. Can't run into anybody else's body, no matter how small.
Hmm.
So you have to maneuver yourself, and you got to maneuver yourself around other people, so that are playing as well. I think it's a bunch of fun.
It sounds like it.
Mm-hmm. How about you?
I've got a few actually. So right off the bat, one that I always think of when anyone mentions to me like browser specific games
Mm-hmm.
is Tupertario Toes.
What?
Tupertario Tros, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna pitch you the game right now.
Okay.
So you play basically the original Mario Brothers with its
Yeah.
jumping into blocks, getting coins, getting mushrooms. but parts of the level are missing. And you press a button and swap over into a Tetris game to build the platforms you need to run along.
All right, that's unique.
It's so much fun. I lost so much time playing that game. It's such a smartly designed game where it always feels interesting to play because you can kind of make your own solutions for that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. Another one I'm a huge fan of. Ant, are you a fan of The Room?
I mean,
movie
I like
The
the
Room?
okay, so like here's the thing, right?
Yes.
Like I enjoy The Room from a third party perspective by not directly observing it, but by knowing its existence.
Oh, you need to watch. You need to watch this. This is. It is an experience. I got it the same way you did. I definitely saw like movie reviewers online talk about it, the Nostalgia Critic, whoever, talk about the movie, and it gave me a good laugh. But watching the movie just on your own is a completely different experience of just, I can't believe what I'm watching.
I feel like I would enjoy that immensely more with somebody else and not by myself.
I
You know what I mean?
wholeheartedly volunteer for watching this movie with you. But you need to make me a promise.
Oh.
Right afterwards, we play the Room tribute game.
Oh, right, that's right. We were talking about browser games.
Yes. Yes. It is
Dear God.
It is a full video game based around the movie The Room, explaining little events that happen in the movie that don't have an explanation. It goes deep into the story. You can visit characters when they're not supposed to be in the movie. It's so much fun. There's little mini games in there for you to do little. It's so much fun. I can't recommend it enough.
This is an oddly specific game that had a purpose.
It did. It did. It basically recreated the movie, and then just ran whole hog with it, being like, you know what? We're doing the whole thing, from beginning to end. It's like an Earthbound kind of RPG kind of style. It's so good.
Okay, this sounds like a time.
I am wholly on board with it. But I have one more game that I like better than both of them.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard of a Bobo's Big Adventure?
As in like Bobo's adventure or a Bobo's, or what are we talking
A
here?
Bobo. A-B-O-B-O.
No.
Alright, so there's a character from Double Dragon who is a giant, like, hulking bald man named a Bobo. He's from the video game
Okay.
Double Dragon.
Okay.
And in the video game, you basically beat him as a boss, and he dies, and that's it. This game
Okay.
talks about a Bobo when he's not fighting you. In his day-to-day life, where his child gets kidnapped, and you need to go save little Abobo. And you do this by playing some of the best NES and SNES games out there as a Bobo.
I think I've heard about this actually.
Th-
This sounds familiar now.
This game is incredible. Oh my god. The game has so many good moments in it. Like, there's a moment where you need to go into a boxing ring to figure out where your son is, and you need to wrestle Fishman to death. There's a scene where you come across a mermaid, and she like wants you to free her, and then she gives you a reward for it. The game's insane, and I love it. It's so good. You know, in fact, I want to talk a lot about a Bobo's Big Adventure next time. So I'm sending you the link, and you play it next time.
I'm getting a lot of homework, Drew.
Okay. If nothing else, this is the one thing you have to play before next time.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, man.
It's a lot of fun. I love a Bobo's Big Adventure. That game is so much fun.
All right, all right. Do you have any other good ones?
I have a few more others, but honestly, those are the big ones.
Oh wait, I got one. RuneScape. That was browser, right?
That was a browser. That works.
Mm-hmm.
I never honestly played RuneScape.
Mm-hmm.
That complete that um what was the other big
It was
MMO
it was
when we were
good for the
kids?
time it was there.
I feel like it was RuneScape and another game, but I don't remember.
Club
It was
Club Penguin.
yeah, that one. Um, yeah, but
I didn't play that, so it's all good.
I just never got into RuneScape. Like I think it's because it was a subscription based for a while, right?
Well, it was free, but to get to the main part of the game, you had to pay for it. But the free part was okay by itself, though.
Mm-hmm.
You can still like level up like a lot of your skills and all that kind of stuff.
You know what's funny? I found a lot of people recently playing that game. Like
What, RuneScape?
recently playing it.
Well, they completely overhauled it.
Hmm. Like touched it up a
So,
lot?
no, overhauled.
Oh, like everything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like they have two options. They have a classic one, which is, classic RuneScape, and they have the overhauled version of it as well, which is updated
Hmm.
completely.
So they have both games actually running right now?
Yeah, yeah, and both have a decent following from the last time I checked.
That's surprising
So,
to me that game still is around. My god.
right, right. You wouldn't think it would be, but
No,
no,
definitely
it
not.
still is.
Jeez. That's just crazy to me. Like I remember hearing about that game like in early middle school and being like, yeah,
I remember going to the library having playing on the library computers.
man, I don't even know if we could actually on my computers. I think it was probably blocked or it just couldn't run on them.
Well, I mean the town library.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant school library. I was like,
Remember, I live in a city, sir.
yes, yes, that is true. But
And our library is very cool about that stuff too, which is also interesting too.
I've noticed that, like, whenever I spent a lot of time in libraries as a kid, like, they seemed to be places where they were just cool with people kind of hanging out and, like, as long
Mm-hmm.
as they weren't causing a disruption or, like, getting too rowdy, like, it pretty much was just like, yeah, just chill here. It's fine. Read,
Mm-hmm.
play on the computer, do whatever.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Hmm.
Just like what they would end up doing. Because I remember there was a point in middle school where I would just go every day after school and just go to the library. So yeah, as long as you had your library card, you could pretty much do what you want. Check out books. You could even rent DVDs. They had that Beatles movie, the real trippy one.
Oh, Yellow Submarine.
Yeah, yeah, Yellow Submarine. Right? I remember renting that from the library and be like, this is weird, but it's kind of fun.
That's the funny thing. Like, I definitely think it's weird that we've moved away from going to libraries when they're just like wealths of entertainment. They've got
Pretty
computers,
much.
books, movies. I've even heard some carrying video games now you can rent,
Mm-hmm.
like borrow and bring back. Like it's crazy to me. I've got a friend who actually works for it, and she loves it. I imagine she shares the same feelings as me. She's like, why aren't people coming here? I know you have the internet now, but even still, like, look at how much stuff we have.
You kidding me? My local library's always filled.
Really? Who who
Yeah.
who, who kind of fills it? Like, what's the demographic?
It's like a mix of between like older kids. I mean, like all that kind of stuff. Because
Like
like you're like,
teenagers?
well, middle schoolers, high schoolers. You got people working on like projects and stuff. Because like, I mean, if you don't got a good internet connection at home, that's the place you go.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
It's also access to a decent computer,
mm-hmm.
whatever programs you need. That makes sense.
Yeah, you don't have to like worry about buying Microsoft Word or anything like that. You can just go there and just get your stuff done.
Hmm.
Or you can just go there and play a game if you want.
Yeah.
Like they've always been pretty good about that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think
We
you
both
you
endorse libraries, even though I don't really go to them anymore.
yep, that's for sure. Yeah, libraries.
Woo! But back to bring this back to games.
Yeah.
Bring this all the way back. We had
Oh,
another game that we wanted to talk about that we both played and enjoyed.
profusely.
Wait, what game's that?
Duck game. Wah.
Wait, what's profusely then?
I will slap you in the face. Not just your
Google,
face.
what is profusely game? I swear,
Exceedingly
there's actually
enjoy.
a thing. is actually a thing.
Drew,
No, it's not. All right.
don't. I was gonna say, don't make me hate humanity. Anyway, but yeah, Duck Game. It's a lot of fun. It's like the Super Smash Brothers for your computer.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly the best way to describe it. It's like a weird kind of Smash Brothers kind of combat game that's over in an instant. I guess that's the difference. Is that Smash Brothers
Mm-hmm.
can take quite a little bit of time to actually get up and running and like
Mm-hmm.
to play a full game. One match of Duck Game can be seconds long,
Yeah. Not
like
even measuring a minute.
literal seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes games can go for quite a while, depending how much of a standoff they're at right now.
Mm-hmm. Like the games don't last too long to where like it's just kind of dragging on, right?
Mm.
But like they also don't require a huge skill ceiling either. You could literally be like the newest guy to the game and you have a chance of winning, but
Yeah,
not in a cheap way either. He could just be sitting off to the side while like the guys that are actually good kill each other and be like, "I win by default."
yeah. Seriously, it's funny because I remember when me and Kevin first got it, and we were playing it, and just the fun we were having, even though we didn't know a single thing of what we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
was crazy to me. And then as we learned more, kind of how much fun we had with that as well. And I feel like you had a similar experience when you joined in. You just like
Mm-hmm.
you joined in, you were like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh God, what is this? Why are we playing on drums? Why is there a giant laser gun? What is this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Like,
God.
and it eases you into it. It's not like it doesn't feel like the game's taking itself seriously at all. But you can still do it pretty competitively with each other though. You know,
Hmm.
like it
Yeah, and that's
allows for
the
that
thing.
skill.
Like, I think definitely there is like room for actual skill-based play.
Mm-hmm.
But the game really does just cater to just fun over like making everything balanced and competitive
Mm-hmm.
and an experience like that. It's a lot of like just it's a lot of just fun packed into a very very small package.
That's for sure.
Hmm. It focuses more on fun than actually being like a perfectly competitive kind of game. It I appreciate that about the game. They could have easily made a game that feels like, oh, at the grandmaster level, this game could be played for hours in a single match. But they didn't. They just kind of were like, you know what? We're gonna make a dumb fun game that has some skill to it, but it feels interesting to play and fun to
Mm-hmm.
play.
It's meant to be like quick games, something that's a little fast paced. That everybody can just jump in and just have a little bit of fun with.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly recommend Duck Game. I feel bad that like we can't recommend it on the week of the Steam sale, but absolutely go pick up Duck Game.
Yeah.
If you could play, whether you play online or you play with friends, I say playing with friends is probably the best.
Yeah,
But
that's
even
for sure.
even if you just play online, you will have just so much fun and laugh so hard at so many things that go on in this game.
Mm-hmm. Like just the sheer enjoyment you get just by plucking around with your friends and murdering them murdering you accidentally killing each other, and
You
it's just a great time overall.
you accidentally killing yourself with fire.
Yeah, getting the flamethrower and lighting the whole level on fire.
What's like your favorite weapon? Like way to kill people. I'll put it that way.
Blunderbuss.
But yeah, it's satisfying, especially when you hit your mark.
It is. It doesn't usually happen, but when it happens, you feel really good.
So now I know what stages to look out for. What episodes you get hyped for? Where you just get onto a stage that's like, oh no, this is the one with only muskets and blunderbusses. All right, here's his ground.
How about you, Drew?
I like an unconventional one. I really really like the barrels of fire. Like I like trying to make the whole stage a mess of lava and fire just to get everyone in on it. Most of the time, it doesn't work. Like that's the thing. Most of the time, this plan goes awfully, but when it works, you see fear in people's eyes that you just have never seen. They're like, "What am I gonna do? Surrounded by lava."
Yeah, that is always fun when when you figure out how to really screw over somebody. Ah, gives you no other satisfaction like that.
Or when you line up a perfect shot. There's just so many good things.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
It's good. It's a good game.
Overall, good times.
Yeah.
Now, there is one more topic we definitely want to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's Let's Plays. How do you feel about Let's Plays, Drew? How do they fit into your media consumption?
I hate them. I don't understand them. Therefore, I hate them.
Good answer, good answer. So,
Honestly, you'd be surprised for as big a gamer as I am. I don't watch a ton of Let's Plays anymore, and you know what my problem is?
what?
There's just so much content to it, which
Oh,
sounds absolutely not like a problem. But I feel like if I miss a few days of content of a Let's Play, I'm very far behind, and I have a lot of catching up to do.
that's fair.
And it's stressful to kind of be in that situation, and also just to be at the whim of whatever the people you like are playing. Like sometimes they'll play a game and I just am not interested whatsoever, so I just have to kind of like either I sit there and watch because I like their commentary, or I just don't watch. So it's really hit or miss at me, but I do enjoy watching it from time to time. It's just
Okay.
less often than I would think.
For me, I enjoy watching Let's Plays of games that I will not play.
Hmm.
Like games that either the mechanics they're too frustrating for me to enjoy, right? Or what is it?
Or a game you can't play. Like it's
Yeah,
either outside of your price range, or you don't have enough of an interest in it, or you just don't know enough about it.
that's usually the case. I mean, it's not. I won't usually do it just because I don't know enough about it, right? It'll be because like it's a game where the mechanics just aren't interesting to me. A game where I'm interested in the story, but the way that it plays is just I don't want to sit through, right?
Hmm.
And I like the ability to pause. So yeah, that's usually the case for when I watch Let's Plays. And to go on what you were saying about how like there's too much content sometimes. Yeah, I do get that feeling with certain Let's Plays, like Final Fantasy. What was it? The new one they came out with, right?
Hmm.
Like there's like that is so absurdly long that I can't
Yeah, like the
I
Final
can't
Fantasy
sit down
15
with
is
that.
such a massive game to like try and watch someone play through even a majority of the content. Not even all of it, just a majority is so time consuming. Um, I guess to expand my thought a little bit, I like to watch Let's Plays two different ways.
Okay.
One is to discover new games that I have never heard of. Like, there are a couple of games I've been introduced to through Let's Plays that I've actually bought because I didn't think I would have never found them otherwise. For example, there's one of the channels I watch is Game Grumps, and
Mm-hmm.
they played a game a long, long time ago, like probably 2 or 3 years ago at this point, called Offspring Fling.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about throwing your babies. It's adorable. It's an adorable little puzzle game. That game was so cute and so fun to watch that I actually picked it up and played through all of it.
Okay.
That was an experience I loved. The other reason I'll pick up a game, I'll watch a playthrough of a game, is if I've played through it and I want to see what other people have done,
Hmm.
like in a high choice kind of game.
Okay, I can see what you mean there. Yeah, for me I couldn't do that. I don't like going through the same content twice, right? Unless like I'm very mechanically enjoyed with the game, right? But for me, for most games that I watch, they're more narrative based, like Resident Evil, right?
Hmm.
Like I absolutely enjoy watching that game, right? But I would never play it because, for one, I'm a wuss, um, and I can't actually sit down and actually do a horror game. It scares me too much, to be honest.
It's
But
so
I would.
spoopy.
It's too spoopy for me. But I could totally watch somebody go through it just because I can pause it and such.
Yeah, and I have two feelings about that though.
Mm-hmm.
One, I personally completely regret watching all the way through Resident Evil 7.
Okay.
I loved watching it and I was so enticed in the story and everything was going on. I continued to watch it. But after watching through the entirety of a Let's Play of that game, I want to play that game. And now I know every single thing that can happen in it. Which
You,
is
you know
somewhat
what?
of a good thing because now I can explore and maybe have a different experience, but like that game would have been so cool to just go in completely blind.
I agree with you there, and that's why if I start watching a Let's Play, right, and I realize it's something that I'll actually play, I instantly stop watching it, right?
Mm.
Like that was me in Firewatch. Like I originally I was watching somebody do a little bit of Firewatch, right? I was like, hold up, I actually want to play this. So I instantly stopped watching it because I knew I'm actually going to be interested in playing this. This seems something I'd actually like. And so I stopped. But for Resident Evil, that's a game I'm never going to play, right?
I got you.
That's usually my criteria right there. Okay?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. But here's my other end, and this
Mhm.
relates a little bit more to you. There is one game I think I would hate playing through, and not
Okay.
because it's scary, but genuinely because I don't think I'd like the gameplay enough to keep going with it. But I love watching someone play it.
Okay.
That game is the Five Nights at Freddy's series. I genuinely think I would hate playing those games,
I'd agree with you there.
but I enjoy the story and the creativity of the games themselves enough to kind of watch someone play it and enjoy myself immensely.
You know
To,
what? For me in Five Nights and Freddy, I'm more interested in the fan theories than the actual game itself, right? Like I more enjoy just like what people think about the game than the games. I actually don't enjoy the game at all.
not even from a story perspective.
Well, no, no, no. I just don't, from the story perspective, I think it's pretty interesting, right? But the actual playing of the game, the game itself, it's something I'm not actually interested in, right?
Yeah, it's that's the thing. I kind of agree with that wholeheartedly. Playing the game, I couldn't do it. It seems like such a micromanaging kind of game that I just don't think I could actually do it well enough to continue, or at
Hmm.
least be interested in it long enough to have that happen.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, but not to say I don't enjoy it. It's just one of those things that, like, unfortunately, I think is better watching than playing.
Hmm.
Do you have any games, like particular games you're thinking of like games you think are better watched than played?
Hmm. A lot of the indie games, it's sad to say this, but like a lot of indie horror games, right?
Hmm.
Just because like sometimes they have jank controls, and I'd rather see somebody else go through it and get their little commentary on it while they're like playing through it. Cryotic's pretty good with that kind of stuff, right? But like, yeah, just a bunch of those, or like little narrative games like To the Moon, right? Like
That game I still need to finish.
like that game is a great little experience, right? But I wouldn't actually want to play it. I mean, I bought it anyway, just because that's how much I enjoyed it. I wanted to support the developer that kind of way, right? But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it. Man, I really need to go back and play To the Moon. Like that's been on my list for ages, and I think I played through the first hour and a half of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I got relatively far in it, but I'm honestly trying to think of other games that I think I enjoy watching more than I enjoy playing. Um,
I mean, Uncharted.
Uncharted's always been one of those games I've actually looked into, wanted to play,
My thing is
but
that they're always on they're on PlayStation,
yeah,
so I can't. There's no way I actually can.
yeah. Even though it's actually like a couple of times it's convinced me, like, you know what? There's enough games on there I might want to play it. Like I've said to myself,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'll buy a PlayStation 4 for literally just the Uncharted games and Last of Us. It's like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't be spending that kind of money for a handful of games.
Yeah.
But back on the topic at hand, you want to talk specifically about horror Let's Plays.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the thing I was going over already, right?
Hmm.
How like I can't really stand playing horror games just because like I'm a little weak to them, you know? Like I love Soma. That is such a great game, right? But like I don't have the guts to sit through it, right?
Hmm.
And actually go through the game. But I absolutely love seeing somebody play through it just cuz especially if they do like a completionist run kind of deal, right? Or another good example, right? Would be, well, I already said Resident Evil. Let's see. Oh, would be Undertale. Undertale, I absolutely love to watch somebody play, but I would not have the patience to sit through that at all.
Hmm.
Like that would just be tedious for me.
I actually have that game, and I wanted to play through it. I've intentionally looked up so little about this game that I basically said to myself, I'm just gonna not look up a lot about it since I've already spoiled so much for myself about it.
Mm-hmm.
That when I do eventually play the game, and I will eventually play it,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of go in and just have this crazy experience.
Okay, that's fair.
That's what I'm looking for. But yeah, it's hmm. I guess I'm trying to think of games that would be interesting to play through versus actually watch, like the vice
I would
versa.
Okay, I would say those would be games that are very mechanically focused and less narratively focused, right? Like for me, that would be the games like Stellaris, or that would be like your Call of Duties or Battlefield, or games that are like more into the mechanics of things than the actual narrative that's being put out there.
You see, that's the thing, though. I'm thinking like most horror games don't have crazy mechanics to them. They don't have some crazy like underlying mechanic to like make it so the game is special or rises above through just mechanics. Most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
horror games rely on aesthetic, story, and character to kind of perpetuate it forward. Um, any game I'm thinking of kind of falls into one of those three categories as a primary, like Outlast. Outlast relies very heavily on its aesthetic and characters to kind of bring out the horror atmosphere, while the gameplay is just you basically running around. There's not a whole lot of other gameplay to it. Um,
Yeah,
I
yeah, that's
guess I guess the closest thing I could think of to like gameplay specific would be Fear, because that game series always had some level of interesting mechanic to it.
I mean, I would say the Metro series, and I feel like Fear kind of go hand in hand, you
Mm,
know, with that idea, like where it's better. You definitely get a lot more out of playing those games than you do just watching somebody play. I
oh,
would I
definitely,
would feel.
definitely. But I would never lump Metro as a horror game. I'd say it has horror elements, absolutely.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that would be like if I came to you and was like, "Man, I just played this great horror game. It's called Doom. You seen it? It's great. You rip demons' heads open with your own bare hands." It's like that's not really scary. It's kind of
Okay,
enjoyable, actually.
okay. You're right. You're right.
It it feels like one of those things of like I have a hard time trying to think of a game, a horror game that is specific to.
It's just absolutely better just to play through instead of just watching somebody play, right?
Yeah, and now here's the asterisks I'll throw on that. I think all horror games are better to play than watch. Okay, you know what? No, I'll say almost all, since Five Nights at Freddy's falls into that horror category. But
Yeah, I
it,
mean, like, I
I
would say at a core level, most are right.
yeah,
It's
I
just preferences.
I feel like horror games are best experienced by yourself and not with a group. Like it's best to just sit down and play on your own without any other people commenting, without any other people talking, just you kind of getting in your own head.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how these games are designed. They're not designed for a group of people to sit around and get scared by.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Honestly, a lot of these games aren't even designed for like people to sit around and play with a group. It's just like, yeah, it's a single player experience or something like that. It's it's interesting that the horror let's play genre kind of became a thing when you have something like that. But then again, people the people who liked that watched it because they like to see people scared.
Mm-hmm. I guess my motivations are different than most people.
How do you mean? Like you just enjoy experiencing the game through someone?
Basically, yeah. Like I like hearing somebody's commentary. Like certain YouTubers, the only reason I'm subscribed to them is just because I like the little comments that they can add to games. Like I feel people like Jesse Cox, Cryotic, they don't overpower the game when they're playing it. Like somebody like Markiplier, it's Markiplier playing that game, right? It's not like you're there for specifically just the Markiplier, right? But for Jesse Cox or like Cryotic, they give a bit of not a Markiplier or anything like that, but they give a little bit more respect to what they're working with, right? Like they don't try and outdo the game with themselves. They try and take a back seat and like make comments on the game, like give their little feelings on like situations that kind of accentuate the game, not overpower the narrative itself. You know what I mean?
You see, that's the weird thing. I'll disagree with you a little bit. I do not watch as much as you do of those particular YouTubers, but
Mm-hmm.
I find there's not a lot of Let's Players out there who let the game shine through over them. Like a lot of the Let's Players I find, they are the personality. They are the ones you're there to see.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
It's not like
that's
I look for I want to see Outlast 2 and I just don't type it into Google and click on the first video. I usually have a person I want to see do it.
well. Here's the thing, right? Right. It's not that you're not there for them because like I'm definitely watching like Jesse Cox for like the for Resident Evil, right? Like I'm watching him because he's Jesse Cox, and he does a great job of it. But I feel like he doesn't try to complete. I feel like he complements the game well. You know what I mean? Like he's able to add himself to the game in a meaningful way that doesn't take away from the experience. Like for me, uh, it's the difference between watching somebody that adds with the game and somebody that's trying to overpower the game through his own antics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess it's weird because a lot of people a lot of the time if the game is good, the Let's Player themselves doesn't have to make the game fun. Like the game
Mm-hmm.
itself is fun to watch. The time you
Yep.
get people overpowering it is when it's a bad game. You
Yeah.
get like the older
Happy.
the older videos of the older videos of PewDiePie or Markiplier
Or
or any of
or
these.
like something that involves Happy Wheels.
Yeah, thank God. But it you get one of those things where it's a case of we need to be entertaining because the game isn't. And I
Yeah,
guess in the case
that's a good way to put it.
that the game in the case that the game is good, they don't have to shine as brightly. But I find it that it's hard to still do that because a lot of people will still layer their personality over top of it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
like for instance, right? Like Cryotic, he's a very soft-spoken person,
mhm.
right? So he adds perfectly for like those type of horror games and like, stuff like that. Just because he's already a soft-spoken sort of person, so he's his voice already complements just, what the elements already. You see what I mean?
I guess the other thing, since we're talking specifically about horror Let's Plays, I feel like sometimes watching a Let's Player, at this point I'm pretty much taking the anti Let's Player route. I'm just gonna keep going with that, even though I'm not entirely. Let's play devil's advocate with it. I feel like a lot of the time with these Let's Players, you have a case that the developer makes a finely crafted moment to really scare a player or to really get inside someone's head. And I feel like that's lost a lot of the time because the Let's Player makes a joke or tries to break the tension or tries to do a funny meme or something. I I feel like that's the interesting thing about horror Let's Plays is that a lot of the time the game is not at fault when it when its atmosphere fails because you have somebody laughing and joking and doing something over top of it. Do you ever feel that way? That like when you're watching a scary game be played, it doesn't feel scary.
I mean, I do feel that sometimes, but I don't know. I usually at that point, uh, if the narrative's not picking me, I usually drop it at that point. I mean, I'm okay with the game not feeling scary as long as like it's narratively interesting. Like I'm interested in the story they're trying to tell,
Mm-hmm.
right? For me, it's not necessarily just like the scary element that brings me in. It's like the whole little world they're building, right, and how it's put together and all that kind of stuff. So that's not necessarily like the highest priority for me.
Yeah, I guess I can see that too. That the game can still shine through that, but I feel like a lot of the time the job of a Let's Player isn't to let you experience the moment as much as it is to. I keep saying this, but layer their personality on top of the video.
I mean, you're right. I feel like you're right.
So you.
Definitely inject their personality into the game that they're playing. I feel like that's definitely true.
Mhm.
No, that's all I had.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for a but I guess
No,
that
no,
didn't
I,
happen.
I, I just agree with your point. No, I feel you're right there.
And
Um,
I mean, I get this feeling that like something really is lost when you watch just a Let's Player versus playing the game.
but
I'm only talking specifically about well-crafted games. Obviously, if they're playing Slender Six, the spoopening, like, and it's got a troll face on top of Slender Man. That's crap. That's absolute garbage. No one's gonna play that, and
I
it's
will
fun to
ag-
make fun of it. But
I will agree with you for those that would want to play it anyway, right? But for
mhm,
those who actually just don't enjoy playing those sort of games,
yeah,
I like me for instance, I feel like it is better just to get the horror experience, through somebody you finds kind of fun or interesting or adds their own little thing to it. I feel like if you actually have an interest in playing these games, you shouldn't watch the Let's Plays at all. You should just jump into them and maybe jump into them afterwards and be like, so how they do things, right?
yeah,
Or get
absolutely.
or just for like some Schadenfreude, if that's what you like to.
If you're like, come on, I did that so easily. Come on now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like that for that kind of reasons. But like if you're actually interested in playing the games themselves, yeah, you're gonna get more, I would say, out of just going through it, playing it yourself. But for those that like don't have an interest in actually playing those sort of games, yeah, Let's Plays. I wouldn't don't suffer through something.
yeah. I well, Well, funny enough, I want to play Soma. It's just never been on a decent enough sale for my own tastes. But
Hmm.
um, I guess it's entirely true because, like I said, I have never played through a large majority of a Five Nights at Freddy's game. I've just never done it,
Hmm.
and that's mainly because I don't think I'd like the gameplay of it.
Okay.
But if you break down like the actual game itself, outside of those mechanics, I enjoy it immensely. So watching it is the best way for me to kind of get that material.
I get you.
And that makes a
sense to
lot
me.
of sense. Now, would I enjoy playing Five Nights at Freddy's? Probably not, but I've never honestly tried it. I've never tried a large extent of it, I guess, is the best way of putting it. It I don't know. It makes me wonder when I look at a lot of Let's Players playing all types of different games coming out, if the games themselves are just media to be watched now rather than to be played. Like there's a whole group of people who would rather just watch it rather than play it, and I feel like the experience won't be. Eh, I guess that's hard to say. Like it's hard to say that because people are going to experience it however they want. It's not a case of like, oh, you need to experience it this one way.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just all going to be pretty much how you perceive it's going to go through.
Yeah, yeah. However it is, I mean, you know, it's actually an interesting point, real quick.
Yeah. What?
I've seen a lot less of that lately.
What do you mean?
Kind of just the horror let's play YouTuber kind of deal.
I
A
mean,
lot of the let's
there's been less horror games coming out, right?
I wouldn't say less. No, no, no. There's at least one a week on Steam. I'll say that much. Not a good one.
Oh, yeah.
I would never say that. But there's at least one a week. Like here, let me go look at the release list this week.
Oh, dude. Don't hurt yourself.
No, for some reason, Unturned is on the new and trending page.
I think they just had a big release. So,
There's apparently some game called Get Even, which is labeled psychological horror.
I mean, you can only sift through the same shit for so long before you get tired of it. Unless you're Jim Sterling, and then you just live in shit.
Then you just never leave it. But yeah, I guess my takeaway from all of the very topical and very recent horror let's plays that are going on YouTube right now, it's mainly just that I would rather see a lot more people pick up the games and play them versus just watching them.
Yeah, I feel what you mean there, but I don't know. I mean, like, you couldn't do anything that would change my stance on actually watching Let's Plays and
No,
playing them.
no, not
Like,
at
for
all.
somebody like me, you're not gonna be able to change my view on that, just
No,
because, you know.
of course not. And look, I'm not looking to change hearts and minds right now, but I have thought about a couple of times being like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like people would rather get an opinion on a game rather than form their own. If you kind of get where I'm coming from that.
I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, I see that as something that, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have, as long as, I guess they're watching somebody that's decent. I mean, sometimes you just kind of want to turn off your brain and not really have to think too hard about something. I'd say that's an issue, like, if that's all you do,
Hmm.
but I guess that's just kind of just how many things you consume that way, that matters.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because, like, there's definitely games where, like, I have no interest in playing them and jumping into them or whatever, but I'll still read up things about them just because, you know, this world seems interesting, or this player group seems interesting. What's this kind of about? You know, kind of like the stuff with Guild Wars or, you know, any of the MMOs. I hate playing MMOs, but I do like hearing about them. Or,
Yeah.
like, for instance, Eve. That's the best. That's a pretty good comparison right there, right? Like, I would never play Eve. It's boring as shit to me. But I love to hear about it, just like the type of wars that go on within it, all that kind of stuff. That's just cool.
Yeah, I'm
But,
kind of in the same boat where I've got a thing against subscription MMOs.
hmm
I feel really, really negatively about paying a subscription to play a game.
I feel that way too, honestly.
Yeah, we'll have to go into that another time, but certainly I love hearing about the battles in Eve and how different MMOs have survived throughout the years or something like that. Like there was a whole documentary recently about the death and rebirth of Final Fantasy XIV that was super interesting. Like I would recommend that entirely to anyone. Go out and check it out.
hmm
By a channel called No Clip. It's incredible, but it's interesting to hear about. But I don't think I'd ever really want to get into it.
hmm I mean, like, I have a
Actually
bunch
playing
of.
it.
Well, for me, I just don't enjoy the mechanics of MMOs for the most
Mm.
part, right? Like, I don't like the 1 through 10 or whatever, 0 action keys, and, it's not fun for me, really. It uses up a shit ton of time that you have to be devoted in. And, yeah, it's not something I always enjoy. And you have to be with other people. So that's another thing. I usually play games, to decompress or like, just kind of relax and such. And I don't know, I don't get that feeling when I play an MMO. Like I feel like I either have to be with somebody else, right? Or I have to be grinding somewhere just so I can play with other people.
Mm.
And I mean, you can skip forward, right? But then it feels like you're just missing so much content, right? And I don't like that feeling either. So, eh, I don't know. MMOs are just things that I don't enjoy playing for the most part. You know?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Well,
Um,
do you have anything else to add on here, Drew?
no, go play good games. Go
Yes.
play good video games.
Yeah, good video games.
Go
That's
do
the
that.
goals. I think that wraps up what we kind of wanted to talk about for today.
Definitely. And we have homework for next time.
We do. Also, we should probably look into a few things that we were supposed to talk about this week that we didn't talk about.
Yes, one in particular which I forgot about.
Like the
It's completely on
Stanley
me.
Parable and,
Oh God, I want to talk about the beginner's guide so badly.
and the beginner's guide.
We could talk about that. Yes.
That'll be next week. It was supposed to be this week, but we completely forgot and we just remembered at the end of the show and
Yes.
we're already at an hour.
By the way, people, sorry about being gone for a little bit.
Life happens and vacations happen.
Yes, but we are back. We're back
Facts.
for the foreseeable future.
That's for sure.
Yes.
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 Yes. Well, this was a blank space, folks, and we filled it in with something.